Today is March 12th, 2025. My name is Bobby Goodman, and I am here interviewing Gene Friedman about his days at the Columbian Club. Gene, welcome.
Thank you so much, Bobby. It's nice to see you.
It's so great to have you here. Let me just start right off the bat with, Gene, when did you become a member of the Columbian Club?
Well, I can tell you by this little card right here. I became a senior member on May 31st, 1965. And
That's awesome.
Yeah, and before
Show that card.
And before that, I was what they called it, I think, not associate member, but it was the next step before. It was junior member, intermediate member. Intermediate. It was. Yeah, I was that for like 3 or 4 years, but I was a senior member starting here, and I was a member until there wasn't a club anymore.
Wow. And the senior member started when you were 35, senior when you were 35, right?
I think when you were 35, probably.
Very. So when you joined back in 1965, maybe you could share with us a little bit about what the membership kind of looked like then. Were they mainly people about your age, or were it an older generation or younger? What did the membership look like?
It was a mixed, older, younger. You know, I had moved here from Memphis, and I had belonged to a Jewish country club there, and so it was not unlike where I was before. So there was nothing new for me, except the golf course was different. And the food was better here, I think.
And we'll get back to that. What about when you joined? Do you recall the process of joining? Was there an application process? Did you have to go in front of a board or a meeting?
No, actually, the reason I joined is I love to play golf, and I was married at the time with very young children. And I belong to a small country club that's not in existence anymore here, and it was called the Preston Hollow Country Club. I don't know if you remember that. It was a really nice club until they went out of business. And a neighbor across the street from where we lived belonged to the Columbian Club, and he said, "Well, why don't you join there?" And I said, "I'll be glad to. You think about it." So I filled out an application, and I remember a fellow came to my office and interviewed me, and that was it. And after that, they said, "You know, you're a member. Here's your fee," you know, and stuff like that. But it wasn't really complicated, other than this fellow was an old member of the Jewish community. I think he might have been in the insurance business, and I've forgotten his name. And he was cordial, but he was very serious about asking me all kinds of questions. And that was it. So I joined.
And you joined. What were some of your reasoning? Back then, would anti-Semitism play into any reason of joining the club back then?
No, it really didn't, because I was at the Preston Hollow Country Club. It was a mixed group of people. So I never had a problem with that in terms of joining a club. And it was the same thing, in Memphis, it was an all-Jewish club. It is not anymore. It's still a club, but it's an integrated club now.
And so you just wanted to be at a place where you could play golf?
Where I knew people and could play golf. And there was a swimming pool for my children, and there were things for them to do. And really, the swimming pool in the summer was like the center of Jewish society out there for children. And that's why we joined.
So tell me a little bit about your relationship. Obviously, you were a member a lot of years. If you joined in '65, did you member all the way till when? Do you recall?
I really don't, but I was a member at 60 years plus.
Wow.
I'm 96 now, so
wow.
I don't remember a lot of exact dates anymore.
Right. Sure. When you were a member, were you on the relationship with the club, whether it be committees, boards? Did they have that back then?
Of course,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah, and I was. My first major thing there was I was a member of the golf committee, which I enjoyed very much. And I eventually became chairman of the golf committee. Then later on, I was a member of the board. And I was a member of the membership committee, which was an interesting committee. But I enjoyed all of that, every bit of it.
Very involved with the club. So, obviously very involved in the club.
Yes.
Share a little bit about the importance of the club, first to you personally. The Columbian Club was important to you in your life, I assume.
Absolutely, very important to me.
What made it important? What were some of those aspects?
Well, this goes back a long time in Dallas, but in the early days when I moved here, there were hardly any swimming pools that were in private places or so forth. There wasn't a lot of places for children to find activities. There were very few decent restaurants in Dallas. I mean, really, very, very few. And the food at the Columbian Club at that time was extremely good. And I would say it probably was as good as any restaurant, better than most. There may be one that was as good in the city, and that was it. The only problem, of course, was it was not close to where almost anyone lived, but the drive was worth it, I felt. And the course was nice.
Right. What about the importance, you mentioned your family, your kids, they grow up out there, the importance of the club to your children?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And they all did grow up there. And eventually, my two sons became young members of the club.
Well, very nice.
So
the legacy continues.
Well, they don't continue. They didn't continue for long, but you can remember this because it was you're the same age they are, or their oldest one is anyway. Right. When they graduated from law school, both of them went to law school, and they had been they didn't have their own practices, of course, then, so they were busy working for other law firms. And the job working for other law firms, as they told me, was you better be there all the time and you better start doing a lot of billing for the hours that you do things. So they didn't have a lot of chance, once that happened, to be out at the club and playing golf during the week. And it just didn't happen. And sometimes on Saturday, they couldn't. They were both single at the time, so it wasn't a question of being with their children, but it was work for them. And what they finally figured out, and also my daughter got married at that time, and her husband joined the club. So I had two sons and a son-in-law at the club as members. And my daughter's husband traveled a bit, and what they discovered was they were able maybe to play golf on a Sunday, but maybe like twice a month. And they weren't all, making tons of money at that time. So they had figured out that per round of golf, they could play at Pebble Beach for what it cost them to join the club. And they decided that wasn't worth it for them. So they both, all three of them decided, and a lot of people besides them, friends of yours and friends of theirs, almost at the same time, young people who are about to take that next step from junior members to intermediate or intermediate to seniors. There was a fairly good piece of money that you had to come up with to do that at each stage. And they didn't feel it was worth it, and they couldn't hardly play golf at all. And so they did join, but they all eventually left at basically the same time as lots of their friends did. Right. And that was a loss, I think, to the club, but that's the economics of it.
Sure. And I assume that before they were joining members, as little kids, since you were a member, they spent many days out there at the pool?
They did. They went to the pool, and also, back in those days, you could fish into the lake. And there was a little thing going out, a little footpath with woods and so forth, and you go out and fish there, and that was fun for them too. Usually I went with them because I didn't want them to be around water by themselves when they were young. I'm talking about really young, not when they were lawyers.
Right.
But yeah, that was fun for them as well.
So some of the activities, Gene, that you participated, obviously you were an avid golfer and loved to play golf.
I did.
So golf was a central part of it. What are some of the other things that went on at the club that you participated in or enjoyed doing?
Well, primarily golf, and eventually one of the jobs I had was chairman of the House Committee. And the House Committee's job was to obviously take care of the grounds and the clubhouse and so forth, and do the rules and tell people what they could wear and what they couldn't wear that was appropriate. And I did that, and I enjoyed doing it because I felt a lot of people were taking advantage of not following the rules, and that troubled me. So I think I don't think I lost any friends, but I don't think I made any the way that I tried to enforce the rules the way they should be. Like children crying and being sat still in the dining room, and grandmothers taking their kids around to every table to show them off to their other friends, and the kids still crying and dropping food on the ground. And so there were just little things that are normally you wouldn't do. Or wearing a hat inside. It still troubles me to this day for a gentleman to do that. And loud phone calls inside the clubhouse and in the dining room where other people are interested in eating and not hearing your conversation. So things like that. I took some pleasure in bringing the club back to where it should be as a country club. And I think I did help that way, although it probably didn't help me a lot. But
Maybe ruffled a few feathers?
I'm sure I did. I'm sure I did, especially with grandmothers, unfortunately.
So the importance of the club to you, what would you say, why was it important for Gene Friedman to be a member of the club?
Well, as I told you, I moved here and I didn't have many friends here, but my business also moved here, and that's why I was moved to Dallas from Memphis, because we opened a showroom in the market center. So I did make some friends there, but other than that, business kinds of friends who were in the same business I was. We didn't have a lot of friends. We had friends with some neighbors, but that became a place of friendship and meeting a lot of people that I still know and are still friends. And that was kind of the center of our social life, I would say.
You made friends. Obviously, it was a place to make friends. And today, are you still friends with many of those people?
Many of those who are left. Right. Unfortunately, there are a lot who are gone.
Right.
But many friends.
If you'll share with us, you still have. Someone told me that maybe you're still doing a lunch out at the club grounds. I know it's called Merido today.
The club, since it's closed and went through 2 other iterations, the group that were formerly members of the Columbian Club that stayed through all of this and became, members of the new club, which is called the Merido Club, and it's a very nice club and a very difficult golf course, but in very good shape. We decided that we would hang out there together, but all of a sudden we decided that we'll do it one day a week where we would all do it together. And the people at the club were nice enough to set up a table and chairs for us under a tree it's between 2 holes on the golf course, so we weren't on the golf course. But we eventually, we called it the Circle of Jews. But it brought all the people together, and the person who you interviewed prior to me is one of the guys that Dickie is there, and they were all former members of the Columbian Club. And so, yeah, to this day, we still have that.
Long-lasting, long-time friendships.
Oh, yes.
Share with us, if you will, Gene, maybe one or two of your uh, favorite memories of the club. It could be a story or
Okay.
anything that you'd like to share about the club.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm most proud of, and it was a great memory, is when I was chairman of the golf committee, we held the first member guest tournament that had been held out there in between 15 and 20 years. And people on the committee with me worked really hard and had a lot of connections, and one fellow had a connection in Las Vegas, so we had entertainment from Vegas. Really an amazing kind of guy that was quite good. A lot of the members brought, as their guests to play, athletes that people knew. A lot of cowboys showed up at it.
Wow.
But it was a sold-out party, and it was a great golf tournament. I did not win. I did not come close, but anyway, it was great. And that's one of the really first good things that happened that I was so proud of. Yeah.
I remember playing in it, and they were the best.
Did you play in that
Oh,
tournament?
I played in them. It was the highlight of the year.
It was, and that was the first one in ages that we had.
It was awesome. So, why do you think the Columbian Club closed?
I think it was a matter of the times and economics and age. The times changed to the extent that all of a sudden there were a lot of good restaurants in Dallas, and you didn't have to be a member out at the country club to have a really great meal. People started having swimming pools in their backyard. So a lot of young people didn't need to join a country club anymore. There were a lot of good golf courses around the city that you did not have to belong to. In fact, when my youngest son, who really does still love to play golf, left, he's found several groups that, just welcomed him, and he plays all over the city without joining a country club. Of course, he's played out at our club several times as my guest, because I like to play golf with him. So it's those two things and the economics of it. One of the things was, I kept telling you how good the food was, and I really shouldn't say that, but it was the truth, except we lost money on every meal we served. And a lot of our older members insisted on only the best. And if we had a dinner one night at the club, and the shrimp were too small, we would hear about it. But they didn't want to pay any more to get, jumbo shrimp and the best kind of steak and all of the things that over time became expensive. And we tried to respect people like that, but we lost money and we started losing money and if someone wanted to have a party, they only wanted the best, but they wanted to pay what they thought they should have paid like 15, 20 years ago. So to that extent, that was an economic problem for the club. Another thing is we had a great club manager at one time. I'm sure you remember him. He didn't think he was a manager, he thought he owned it. But he knew what he was doing. And when he left, I think that's when things started to go slightly downhill in terms of the food and so forth, and the service staff. We had a great service staff at the time. They were really wonderful people. So those things happened. The other thing that happened, I think that some of the older members at the club who did not play golf became agitated that their dues were so high, and they blamed it all on people who play golf because there's a golf course. But that's what makes a country club, and they complained a great deal, and we tried to honor them and flatter them as much as we could, but it came to a point where we were losing so much money on the kitchen that we couldn't do it anymore. And we felt that if they, didn't like that, then maybe we need to change it just to a golf club where everybody plays golf and everybody understands what it is to be a member of a golf club and country club. And I think that was the beginning of the problems. Some people, just didn't want to be part of it anymore.
And then that Columbian Club turned into what was called the Honors, which was a golf.
And that's really when that was it. When we wanted to change it from a country club because we couldn't deal the food like we did anymore, and the swimming pool anymore, and the tennis courts. We had indoor and outdoor, you remember, tennis courts. We couldn't afford that anymore. So we couldn't change it. It wouldn't be the Columbian Club anymore, and we all understood that and were sad about it. But if we wanted to keep going, it had to be something else. So it became the Honors Club. And then I can tell you, having formerly been on the membership committee, we were losing members like crazy. And the people that we had who were applying for memberships were not the same kind of people that we had before. But those on the membership committee at that time felt we had to have new members. And we had some that came and stayed for 9 months and then left. And it just wasn't the same caliber of people. And that's when it all happened, I think.
So,
I miss it.
right. So do you think a Columbian Club could make it today?
I don't think so. There's too many other clubs that are totally non-discriminating in terms of religion now. I mean, you can play a first-class club, Dallas National, you can, and there are other clubs in the city that are happy to have Jewish members. Not all of them, but most of them.
Right. Are you familiar with the new Columbian Club?
I've heard about it. I heard it's a restaurant. And I think it's a shame that they've taken the name and put it on a restaurant for commercial use. I don't feel good about that.
Interesting.
But
I think it's more of a bar with.
Well, whatever. I don't think it's.
Interesting.
Have you ever been there?
I've not been there. Obviously,
Neither
have I. So before I ask my last question, I want to just make sure there hasn't been anything that I missed that you'd like to share. Any other memory or something you'd like to share before I ask my final question?
I don't think so, Bobby. You've been through all this too, so you know the answers before I give them. So I think you're doing a fine job.
Well, thank you. So here's my final question. Someone mentions the Columbian Club to you. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
What a great club it was in its day.
Very nice.
Absolutely. I have wonderful memories there, lots of great memories, and friends here and gone. But it was the center of my life for a while, other than my family, of course.
Absolutely. Gene, thank you so much for sharing your memories about the Columbian Club.
Well, it's always my pleasure to see you, Bobby, and if this helps anything, I'm glad that I'm here.
Thank you.